Hello, I'm Chuck with Party Time DJ and Karaoke, and I host karaoke down here in the south part of Alabama, pretty much the Mobile area. And I figured what I'd do today is create a short video on some of the equipment that I've been using here for the last year. I've actually updated my equipment. I'm sure some of y'all have done that too. And what I first wanted to go over is the software that I actually use to host the show. And I use a program called Siglos. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of depth with this thing because there are several videos on YouTube that explain how Siglos works. But it's been the best software that I've used so far because of its simplicity. It allows you to keep your singers in rotation. It also will allow you to keep a history of each singer as far as all the songs that they've done in the past. You can change the tempo, you can raise the key, lower the key. Pretty much everything you would want in a karaoke program is in the Siglos software. So be sure to go to YouTube and check out the Siglos karaoke program. The second thing I want to turn to is actually my new QSC speakers. This is a K8, which is an 8-inch speaker. I've got all the K-series speakers. I've got the 8s, the 10s, and the 12s, and I also have one K-sub. They're all 1,000 watts, including this one here. But the thing I like about the K-series speakers is the phenomenal clarity that they can produce, which I find very important for running karaoke files. I'm sure you're probably aware of some of the songs that you may have that have these leads in it, and it may be a lead guitar part, or it could be a sax part. And those parts of the song come out ear-piercing. I don't know if it was because they had the volume up too loud when they produced that part of the track, or if it's something in the EQ with it. But what these QSC speakers seem to do with those annoying files is calm it down, and it makes it very pleasing for the audience out there to hear. Just really brings out the fidelity of these MP3G files. If you look at the back of this thing, it has an RCA input on it. I like this because it gives me a secondary backup in case my primary mixing board fails. It's always good to keep a second mixer on hand, but you know, for some reason, let's say all you do have is one mixer, you know, this is a good way to stay backed up, because you can come into this on the RCA side out of your laptop and then just daisy chain from right here. This is a summed out over to your other speakers, and you'll be able to hobble through the rest of your night doing it this way. I've seen on some of the blogs where people have really raised this question with the K-series speakers: which is the best way to run it? Because it has these modes on the back, and it has a deep and a normal range. It also has an extended sub. If you're running a sub, you may want to move to that. But I primarily run these in the deep mode. It seems to really it almost acts like a little sub in itself. And it does not take away from the mid and high frequencies. It does not do that. Those mids and highs are there like you want them to be. I just can't say enough good words about the QSC K-series speakers. They have really made a big difference in the quality of my show. Second thing I want to move along to is my mixer. I use a Mackie Profx mixer. I have found this mixing board to be the best board that teams up with the QSC speaker, and I've used several different brands. I've used Yamaha, Behringer, Peavey, just to name a few. And I found that this board seems to work best with my QSC system because it will do everything that I want a mixing board to do. The one thing I found amazing is the EQ setting on this board. And we'll see if I can get a little bit closer so you can see. I actually have a frown face setting on it. That's kind of an odd setting for an EQ, but it's really not when I'm using these karaoke files. Many of these files, if not most of them, have a very weak mid-instrumental part of it. The lows and the highs seem to be there in the track, but the mids seem to be missing. And the only way I could figure out a way to push that part of the file was to create this frown setting here. And on my vocal side here, which is channel 1, when you run this frown setting, it doesn't work too good with your vocal side. So the way I compensated for that was I have the highs at about 2 o'clock, the mids cut back to around 10 o'clock, and the lows cut up to around 2 o'clock. And that seems to bring a good balance between the two. Unfortunately, this equalizer here, you can either assign it to your main or your monitor. It will not do both. I wished it would, because I would like to send the same setting to both the main and the monitor, but you can't do that with the Mackie Mix. That's the only thing I wish they would have done, was be able to assign this EQ to both monitor and main. The second thing, or the third thing I want to move over to, is my Vocopro 5900 series wireless mic system. What I like about this system here is the microphones. They seem to put a little light on it. That's my clamp light, by the way. The Vocopro series microphones work off 2 AA's. I found the best AA's for these are the Duracell rechargeables. I think that's a lithium-ion battery. And you can get 2 8-hour or 2 4-hour karaoke shows out of one charge of these batteries. I know that some people have thought about using some of these ones that you stick in the charger. I just don't trust that, because, you know, I want to be able to replace batteries if I have to. Another thing I like about this microphone is it seems to be fairly drop resistant and not as fragile as some other mic models I've seen. But the third thing I like is actually the narrow voice coil. This is a very directional mic, so you pretty much have to sing right into it. But the good thing about that is it does a good job in eliminating feedback problems. So these things hardly ever feed back. And they have very good quality for a wireless microphone. I mean, the quality of these microphones are very good. And they have a pretty good range on them too, but you're probably not going to get too far out of range using these in a karaoke show. Moving on to the receiver for it, you'll notice that what's different on the 5900 versus the 5800 is you can change the frequencies on these in case you have like a Wi-Fi system that starts bleeding over into this. So I like the fact that you can scan to a clearer channel for best reception. And this 5900 model does a very good job of keeping a very clean, powerful signal coming to this thing. I'm sure you're probably wondering what this box is here. And that is a TC Helicon vocal correct, or voice tone correct, I think is the proper term. This has been the best thing I've ever added to my system. This really will bring out the vocal fidelity in people singing. This thing was originally intended for musicians as a floor foot pedal, and that's what it is. But what it does is it puts a lot of vocal effects in these three middle knobs. It de-esses, compresses. But the only two knobs you'll ever probably fool with will be the first one here. This one here controls the output of the pedal into your mixing board, gain output. And the last one here is actually your pitch correction. I normally run all these four knobs at the 12 o'clock position. It's the default position for this pedal. And this will make, at 12 o'clock, this will make your mediocre singers and even some bad singers sound pretty good. If you have a very good singer, which all of us do, I found if you back this down to about 10 o'clock, it seems to enhance their vocal quality a little bit more. But I'm talking about singers that are very good singers. But normally you can just leave this thing in the 12 o'clock position for all your singers. And the way I work this thing, or the way it's actually connected, is I come out of the back of the receiver here, 1/4 inch balance. This has and that's going to be the summed out of this receiver. All four channels are summed into this 1/4 inch balance out. Come out of here into the pedal, and then out of the pedal into the mixing board, which I'm using channel 1. And this would be the 12 volt AC adapter which powers up the pedal. This 5900 series, you can come out XLR on each channel, but I sum all channels into this one thing, especially if I'm doing a portable KJ show where I have to break down and set up a system every night. So that's pretty much a general overview of my equipment that I'm using. I think that you will find moving to this system, or actually just going and finding a way to try it out, you will see that that this way of doing it is really a fantastic way of running your karaoke files and running your karaoke system and sound and vocal processing. I can't tell you how pleased I am of the fidelity I was actually able to bring out in my show by adding the TC Helicon voice correct and also adding the QSEK speakers. You can go to YouTube also and check out the voice tone correct box. They have two different models of them. They got a newer model called an XT, and but the old one works pretty good too. I think the newer one just adds a little bit more vocal effects to it. I have the new one too. I really can't tell much difference between the two as far as the application that I'm using it for. So please go to YouTube and check out those pedals and give them a try. I guarantee you will not be disappointed in their performance. I'm Chuck Phillips with Party Time DJ and Karaoke, and thanks for tuning in.